Here is a butterfly brush flower, and they are shaped like this with lots of little flowers that are growing out of it, out of this big stem, and it is absolutely fantastic. And behind that is another butterfly stem, and around that stem is climbing this flower plant. This flower is part of this here, this, which is climbing on this. And I absolutely love those butterfly brush flowers. They are so delicious. They smell so sweet, like honey, and a little bit like lilac, a little bit like violet also. Really, really incredibly amazing. Gorgeous. So, and here is my artwork. I'm at the other house, and I started 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 new projects. 6 new projects, and I'm using styrofoam packaging material, and I just make very lovely artwork out of it that I hang on the wall, and everyone can do it. And all I'm using is basically indoor decorating acrylic paint from the hardware store. I usually buy them in larger amounts, like a quart or a gallon, and then I mix them into different colors, usually some pastel tones with white, and I put white in almost every color because I like them a little milder. And then I put those into these yogurt containers, and that works very well. And I use cotton swabs from the Dollar Tree store, and that's my cotton swab box that is already a finished artwork. So that is what I do, and it is fun and it is amazing. It's gorgeous. We're at the other house right now. I'm in the garage at the other house, and the apples are already like this big, so they're gonna be this big, really large, sweet sour apples that are really great for making apple pie with. Fantastic, absolutely nice. So I just wanted to show how I make artwork, because I think that everyone can make artwork the same way. You don't need to spend a lot of money on a canvas or on acrylic paint. You can just go to the hardware store and get indoor decorating high gloss acrylic paint. And they also sell at Amazon, like I said before. They sell high gloss acrylic painters, art paint, already in tubes that are easy to squeeze, and so on. So yeah, but it depends on how much money you want to be spending and how much of that stuff you're using. So I use a lot, so I usually get larger amounts, like a quart, and then I have that to put into different yogurt containers, and I mix up different, no thank you, then I mix up different colors with it. So, and I just love the way the butterfly brush looks, and you can see from here that the purple cones and the ivy and the Oregon grape, all of those plants growing together there, and it's absolutely lovely. And the apples growing, fantastic. Makes me feel very good. And we should practice gratitude. And there are two art pieces that I already made a long time, many years ago, that are hanging there. And so the whole house here also is filling up with my artwork, and it's gonna continue to fill up and fill up and fill up and fill up. And by the time I die, I want to have a large body of art, and I want, maybe, I don't know, maybe my niece, maybe, I hope she will do this. I want my niece to be my gallerist and show my art pieces, and maybe she has a good hand for this. She has a good way of connecting people more than I do, and more of a marketing touch and communication skills, and so she might be able to get space or rent space or find a way into the art scene. Also, she has a chance now because she lives in Berlin. My brother is in the Berlin art scene already, because he makes artistic videos, also commercial videos, music type of videos, and so on. And so through him she can also get into it, and I hope she does. So that would be really nice. We need to make the best out of it. Berlin is not the best place for her. She's just 10 years old. It's not a good place for children. So, but, you know, she's an angel soul, and she'll make the best out of it. You know, she will figure it out. She will figure it all out. I'm sure of that. And so I hope that she will always protect herself from the psychopath, and protect all beings around her, protect her dog, most of all, right now. And yeah, it's not the best place to have children. So I say no to making children in general, no matter where you live. So why make someone suffer? You know, life is harsh enough already. Life is an imposition. It really is. It absolutely is. It entails a lot of suffering, a lot of emotional pain, a lot of hurt. I see so many people are suffering, and they think everything around them is concrete and real, and they think it's truth. They think that it is set in concrete, it is prescribed as that's what life is, and you better adapt, you know, not like the homeless people say, dive or die, you know, sort of, you know, with that attitude going through life, you know. And that's not the way life should be lived. With that attitude of being down and out and thinking, oh, this horror around me is what life is all about, and I better adapt. No, you don't have to adapt to this. You don't have to adapt to anything you don't want to adapt to. You don't even have to exist. No one has the right to make anyone exist. If they don't want to exist, they have the right not to exist. Absolutely. but I am here, big old granny. I am here for those people that don't want to exist in this, and that think that it's either this or nothing. So for those people, I am here. I say, yes, we do have the right to not exist, and if that is your choice, we should all have assisted death available in the whole world, but it should offer people at least 2 weeks of counseling before that. And in that, yeah, okay, thank you. No, I don't want any right now, so thank you. At least in that time, we need to have really, really grounded people that talk to those and that tell them that we have other options also. There are other options other than just to bleep out of that existence, to take that space suit off and go into the infinite cosmos, wherever you want to go to, but you came into this existence for a reason. Some people may be coming into this existence like the girl in Belgium in order to move assisted dying forward and bring this to the whole world and show the world that it's okay, that it's better, much better to have that option than to be suffering through something that you just feel like you can't and you don't want to, and you have the right to do whatever you want to do. So as long as it is not hurting anyone else, as long as it is bringing more options into the world that will make the world better and that make us not suffer so much anymore. So our goal is to end suffering. But besides this, having that option available, which the majority of the world doesn't have, they force people to suffer. They don't give them any other option, and they make them suffer. They may put them into horrible existences, and then they forbid them to commit suicide on top of it. So that's really the worst. So we have to have all kinds of kind and merciful solutions, and beyond that, we need to have options for people, and we need to create great therapy centers around the world for free for everyone, so that everyone has an option of healing and then making the best out of their lives, like with artwork, making something wonderful out of their lives, something where they feel like they are making something happen, they are moving forward, they're not stagnated, they are creating something beautiful, something that is good for them and for the whole world, something that motivates others also. So to give people that option, to give people this wisdom and the philosophy of we're all equally precious, because we are, and each person can make something out of their lives. And it's not about you need to make something or you need to become something. No, it's like, what I mean by making something out of your lives is making your life in a way, creating your own life in a way where you feel like it is fun, it feels good. Smelling on a flower feels good. Smelling perfume oils feels good. Making artwork feels good. Cuddling with the dog feels good. It's good for the dog. It's good for you. It is healing. You'll be amazed what happens in your body when you are cuddling with the dog. When you let go of your guard and your self-images, and you let go of your religion, and you live only by your inner child and by true love, by your amygdala, your compassion center, the hippocampus, the mirror neurons, your heart, your vital signs, your entire body, your cells. You live by that. You live by the being who you are, not by your defense mechanism. Drop the defense mechanism and all the ideas and the ideologies, and you are with your animal and it feels good. You are with your art, you're making art, you're creating something that you want to see, that your inner child wants to see. And that's the meaning of life. You know, the meaning of life is love, joy, art. It's the becoming process in a creative way, not in a striving way. You are moving forward in a proliferation, life, health, life-giving way, in a joyful way, in a loving all living beings equally much in that way. So in appreciation, deep appreciation, infinite appreciation for all life around you, for everything that is positive, joyful, wonderful. Even for maybe some kind of like a little bit resistance that comes our way. You know, some people have way too much of that. Way too much. I've had way too much in my life. Little bit resistance, you know, like resistance training. You lift something, you wouldn't make muscles if it wasn't a bit heavy. So in the same way, it is also psychologically, you know, often we are way overwhelmed. We're given way too much resistance in the world, resistance of all kinds of sorts, you know, too much heaviness. We can't lift this psychologically. It feels like this. But you don't have to. You know, you can sit down and let the heaviness and the badness sit there next to you, and you look at it, and you don't have to lift it. You know, you don't have to solve all the problems at once. You can sit there and you can ponder over it. And as Paul said, that Thomas Edison and Benjamin Franklin, or I don't know exactly who it was, but two very prominent people from history, they have sat together talking for days and days and days and hours and hours and hours and hours just about this one thing, like how to shape the eye of a sewing machine needle, how exactly that needs to be shaped in its minutest form. So it's not just an eye opening in it. It is cut and ground down in a very specific way to make it go smoothly through that machine and come back up and so on. So that's just one example, you know, as that Paul always used to describe that we need to have patience, you know, with things. And he himself has a lot of patience. And I learned from that. A lot of patience, you know. He has so much patience that it made me impatient when I first met him, and many times throughout where I thought, why are you dabbling with this? It's like, for me, it was like, it's not worth it. You're gonna sell that anyway, or you're gonna. And then he always kept saying to me, long before Donald Trump even made The Apprentice, when many people didn't even know about Donald Trump. So, but Paul knew about him because he's always looked up to him, and because Donald Trump is an amazing person. And Donald Trump there are many quotes by Donald Trump that have already been going around in the prominent circles and in among those people that are making it, that are successful financially. We're just at the beginning right now, Paul and I. We're not successful yet, but we're laying the foundation for it. And everyone can do it. Everyone is able to do it. Even if it picks up very, very slowly and you think, oh, it's not going anywhere, but you're setting the foundation. And that's what I really want to focus on with my videos. And it's not so much about to even make it anywhere or to even, become successful in the end. That's basically more like a positive side effect. What I'm talking about and focusing on is how to make it nice. So to make your life livable in the most efficient way possible, and use the resources that you have, and not bend over backwards or twist yourself out of proportions or borrow money or whatever, so take up credits. And that's what we wanted to avoid. We avoided that, and we lived in a motorhome for 3 years because of that. So that in itself, you can view living in a motorhome, saving your money and looking for investments down the line, and use that as this is like an exquisite school, and you can use that as you can get to see things that you would normally not get to see. You can learn things you would normally not get to learn, and you can view it as I am making money as we are traveling, because I'm not spending the money on another property sight unseen. It's just in your head. It's the way you look at the things. That's really what it comes down to. And Donald Trump said many good things, among one thing where he said, when you want to sell your old used car, the least you can do is you can wash your car and clean it all out and then sell it. You make a lot more money, okay? And a lot of people, the reason why he said that is he meant this also as a metaphor for all kinds of things. The reason why he says this is because the majority of humans don't do this. They're not even willing to wash their car before they sell it. And I had to think about this for a long time, because I too, I have been spoiled by my parents and we didn't have to do anything, my brother and I. My parents did everything for us. And so my husband's start of life was the exact opposite. That's why he's my teacher, and not the other way around. So my brother and I, we're the students. We're the perpetual students. So, and that's okay, There's no shame in it. That is just what it is, It's not our fault, This is the life we grew up in. We're also very lucky in this way, very lucky. So, but everything has yin and yang, We didn't learn anything, We thought money comes from the bank. Yeah, for the banks, it's themselves. It seems to be that way, actually, because they know how to set everything up. They have the absolute upper leverage, But for us, no, the money doesn't just come from the bank account or the ATM machine, no, or the credit card, the MasterCard, no, or your Platinum card. No, that's just if you're very lucky and you have a sugar daddy, then you have that Platinum card in your wallet, So that is very nice, and we all want that, of course. But you don't learn anything. You're not learning, you're not growing, you're not moving forward. Your soul isn't growing. when that is happening. When that's happening, your soul is kind of like resting, almost in this complete standstill. So it's kind of like bleeping out of the spacesuit and going to the Orion Nebula and resting there in among all the stardust and energy fog, and just hanging there like in a hammock and saying, "Okay, I'm resting now. I've had it." That's the same thing. You're not. Then the soul isn't growing. So soul is growing almost more in mineral form. So, but very, very slowly. So if we come into a sentient existence form like this here, and we have everything made, then the soul isn't growing very much. But if we are encountering problems, which is resistance, like resistance training, for your muscles, bodybuilding, then that's the same in the brain, So that's the same psychologically, that's the same in terms of learning everything that there is to learn psychologically, sociologically, mathematically, business school, law school, how social movements happen, how social dynamics happen, all of this, how you create something, how you build something, how you keep these things together, how you build up a bank account and keep that together and not overspend and live frugally, and all of this ties into it. And the bottom line, and that's what Tony Robbins always emphasized, and I have listened to his tapes many times over, his audio tapes. I had the 30-day audio. I just had the regular cassette tapes back then, and I listened to that in my Walkman. I had this Walkman. The older people will remember those things. So yeah, and I listened to this over and over and over again, and it made 100% sense. So Tony Robbins said it over and over again. It is gratitude. This is really the key. And they all got it from Napoleon Hill, who was someone from out of space who came here, an outer galactic type of person who came here somewhere in the middle of 1800 during the time of Friedrich Nietzsche. So yeah, and I think he was from the United States. And yeah, also, in given a lot of resistance around him and all kinds of economic depressions and so on. Things had to be made from scratch, everything at that time, and lots of trading. And yeah, out of this grew a virtue. Out of the urgency grew a virtue. He came from very humble beginnings, not even from an academic family background, so more from blue collar worker type of background. But he's a very large soul, a very advanced soul, so he brought that into this world with him, and then out of that developed something absolutely amazing. So all of these people, Esther Hicks too, they got it from Napoleon Hill. And I started reading his book. The language is a little bit of the old-fashioned English, so lots of old-fashioned terminology in it, and then it feels a bit tedious, so I didn't continue reading the book. But Tony Robbins brings it to us in his own words, and it cannot be said any better than that. It really can't. I mean, he really summed it up in the most concrete and understandable way. I love Tony Robbins. He's an amazing person. He helped me so much. And it was my husband who gave me, who told me about Tony Robbins. I think I bought the book then at the bookstore, The Giant Within. So, or Discover the Giant Within. I think that's what the first book that I read from him. Then I read another book later, and then another book with exercises in it, and then the 30-day audio tapes, and I watched interviews of him, and I still keep watching interviews. And such an inspiration. There's so much infinity in this man. It's incredible. And that completely, at that time I was kind of like stuck with psychoanalysis and with the Primal Training Center and Treatment Center in Venice with Dr. Arthur Janov, and it wasn't going anywhere for the other people either. 2 people died. It's a tragedy. So I do not recommend primal therapy to people. For me, it was extremely helpful for the first 3 years because Dr. Arthur Janov himself was monitoring the situation and doing the classes like twice a week. That was very, very, very helpful. Once he left, the curve went way down. So people were getting confused, their own emotions took over, they weren't there anymore. The people that were supposed to be there for others weren't able to be there for others anymore, and so that's when things got really, really serious, and that's when the 2 people died, like 2 years later after he left. Very tragic, very tragic. So I cannot recommend it. But I learned a lot from Dr. Arthur Janov. I learned a lot from primal therapy. I also learned from the other half of primal therapy that doesn't work because it is really 50% lopsided. So, and then Tony Robbins came into my life, his teachings, and so that filled out the other half. There was the other half, and some of my friends thought these 2 things are completely, they're contradiction, or they're completely, they cancel each other out or something. That's not true at all. It depends on from which angle we look at it. So not at all. Tony Robbins also, I think, needs a little bit of that psychoanalytical side as well. He needs to give him that time also, and not just completely ignore the emotions in the past and just push through. That is very important, but that's not the whole picture either. We need both sides of it, and then we also need Thich Nhat Hanh, we need S.N. Goenka, and we need Jiddu Krishnamurti, and we need to have this into a complete, comprehensive approach. And that's the therapy that I'm thinking about for the future, to bring all of these elements together, because together they create a whole that is so powerful and so protective also, that will not let anyone fall through the grid, that would not have allowed Mary and Len to die. So Len died from a drug overdose. He was on heroin, and many people didn't know. I saw him at the pharmacy a lot. In the beginning, I was thinking about this. Why is he always there every time I go and pick up my psychopharmaceuticals? And why is he always there? Then I heard he was able to prescribe his own medication, or he was falsifying his doctor's signature and stuff like this. So he got more and more into narcotics, then he ended up on heroin. And he gave himself the death shot. And it actually happened 3 times, but 2 times a friend of us from Germany, Viola, rescued him. And then the 3rd time she wasn't there. She didn't see him. She wasn't able to see him in the nick of time. So one roommate of his, another German lady who was living with Len. Len was I think from California. In Mar Vista they were living together, and she told me, she said she came into his room, she saw him sitting there, and just by the way he was sitting there in his face, she knew that he wasn't in his body anymore. She called the police and they had to pick his body up. It was too late. And I know why, and several years before that, I talked to Len at the center, and I told him, Len, I had a real strange dream about you and me. And I told him that I had this dream that I don't remember who was actually flying. We were flying in a small, like a private jet airplane. And it was kind of older and a little, it wasn't working so well anymore. And I forgot now who was the one flying the airplane. I think it was him. And the airplane was about to crash. And for some reason in this dream, I was able to, in the most bizarre circumstances, I was able to rescue myself. But he wasn't. But I didn't tell him that. I just told him that we were in the plane and that the plane was about to crash. That's all I told him. I wanted to tell him this also as a form of warning, because I could tell that there was something very wrong. Also the way he was interacting. And I told him in that conversation, I said, Len, the way you're interacting with people, you are not yourself. You have this druggy kind of nothing bothers you attitude. You have this everything is hunky-dory attitude. You have this pixie Disney World smile. Len, if he was still alive, he would be, right now, he'd be like 70 years old. Yes. So, but because of that, he died in his early 40s, something like this. Yeah. Real tragic, all of this. And I know some other people that I've known remotely in Germany that I heard from other people later that they had also overdosed themselves to death. Very, very tragic. One woman, Despina, also the name, Despina, like destiny. Despina, also like despair. It's like a word between destiny and despair. I've always noticed this with that name, even before I knew that she was on something. But the way she was interacting with people she was also kind of like a little bit in a daze, and she didn't have any boundaries with people at all whatsoever. And that's not because of the drugs, that's because of her psychological state that she was in, and her childhood, and probably tremendous abuse during childhood, and neglect also, complete neglect and chaos. And so then there's no boundary, and there's no sense of self, the sense of I matter, this feeling of sense of self and I matter, this is a boundary already. When I feel I matter, Theo Swan talked about it too. It's very important. In that moment, I create a space around me. I matter. There's a space. If I say I matter, then the other person has to ask me first if it's okay if he comes into my space and kisses me, you know. So a person without boundaries will not exude this space, you know. I used to be like this. That's why I saw myself in this Pina. But because I have a Medusa inside of me, that would come always. The Medusa would come as my protector. It's not the ego, the Medusa. That's also interesting. I had to think about this. Is that my ego? No, the ego is something else. The ego is a desperate defense mechanism. The Medusa is, you can almost say that's you could almost say it's a demon or it's another entity. You could almost say that it is a split personality or something. But it's not. The Medusa is part of my soul. Okay, that's actually part of my soul. I don't have another entity living in me. I have entities coming at me, wanting something, and giving me thoughts. They come from the outside, but they're not inside of me. Someone said to me, a girl from Texas said to me, you have entities attached to you. No, they're not attached to me, but they swirl around like mosquitoes sometimes, and I talk to them. No, what I have, what lives in this spacesuit is only one soul, and that's the soul of Friedrich Nietzsche and Joan of Arc. I know a lot of people are like, okay, now up to now, but now I'm gonna turn this video off. Okay, it's okay. Yeah. So at least that's what I'm feeling, you know. I might be completely wrong. This might just be a delusion, you know, like a grandiose delusion. I don't know, but this is how it feels, you know. Could also just be a metaphorical type of illusion. I don't know, you know, but this is how it feels. I also have flashbacks of memories that are very, very, very strong from those lifetimes. And a lot of panic and a lot of fear from those lifetimes, and a lot of tension and a lot of distrust also from those lifetimes. So, and my former lifetime, I was a Great Dane in Nazi Germany, and one of the researchers, I'm not going to get into it now, it's too awful. Okay, so very, very horrible. I don't want to get in. I don't want to start to cry again. And I relived this. I relived that, actually. And that was just absolutely shocking and also made a lot of sense. So according to the stuff that I am feeling in this lifetime, which, you know, is composed of the things from the other lifetimes, of course. So in every lifetime, we have this new playing field where and the persona that we are and the gender that we are, and, you know. So in order to learn, you know, you can be a dog in your former life, you be a person in this life. You could be a woman in your past life and a man in your next life, or vice versa. Okay. So I was Friedrich. Before that I was Joan. I was a woman, man, and woman. Okay. And in dog form I was a male dog. And now I'm a woman. So we shift, you know, in order to learn. So Friedrich had a couple of sexisms going on. So, you know, that needed to be cleared up by looking at again from the perspective of the woman. And it's like, yeah, now it makes perfect sense. Before it seems to not have made such perfect sense. So, and that edged on with the woman of his dreams, Lou Andreas, who was one of the first feminists, my grandmother's role model. So, very interesting, very interesting, very interesting, all of this. Interesting, interesting, interesting. So, but yeah, but life is there to grow from, to learn and to make the best out of. And with this mindset of I'm making the best out of the situation that I have available to me right now at this moment. And then you encounter this and this and this resistance and that problem, but like Thomas Edison and Benjamin Franklin, you talk about the eye of a sewing machine needle if you have to for weeks, 10 days, 10 hours per day. Okay. So, and then you think about it 24 hours. You bring it into your dreams, and you rest in between, and you do something else. And if it takes you that long, then that's how long it takes. We need to have that patience. It's what Elon Musk said. Nothing is impossible. It's just a matter of finding how you go about the solution of this problem. Finding the path that you have to, we're not even on the path, we have to find the path. And once we're on the path, we just have to diligently and patiently walk on that path. That is leading towards the solution of the problem. And we can do it, and it's doable for every one of us. So if you feel like your life is overwhelming, then take more breaks. You don't have to leave your spacesuit, as I call the body. There's an option. My husband immediately said he watched that documentary film about the girl in Belgium who applied for euthanasia, and I think she followed through with this. I don't know. So maybe she didn't, but my husband, he immediately said, yeah, what a innocent, beautiful woman too. Would have been a photo model. Karl Lagerfeld would have hired her immediately. She's tall and fits right in with all the other models. And but she thought she was ugly. She thought that she wasn't wanted, she wasn't liked, and she didn't feel like she fit in with her girlfriends and so on. And lots of depression, and the depression coming out of this, her own resistance towards who she is and how she looks. We don't have to have that resistance. It's not necessary. It's the resistance towards that what brings on the depression, the grinding depression. It's Sri Krishnamurti said, if I can't become the Queen of England, then I let it go. They had the camera people had to chuckle about this, because they picture him being the Queen of England. So it's like, you can't, if it's impossible for you to become the Queen of England, then why cling to it? Why be in resistance to this? If that thing is in resistance to you, So if there's a situation that you cannot get, or you can maybe get something equivalent, something that will solve that problem. If you have enough patience, that will be an equivalent situation as the Queen of England, right? Like you can become a great inventor. So, or a man wanting a woman's body, for example, that would fit into this example. Why change your body? I am against gender change operations. I think that is completely wrong. I understand their struggle. I understand their pain. That I really understand. I can't emphasize because it's hard for me to wrap my head around it, how that must be. I can just imagine that it must be hell. But don't trample on your body that you have. Some men even have had it reversed then later on. Then they regretted it. So don't do anything. Don't do anything. Don't alter your bodies. Whether you want to be a different gender or whether you want to look like this photo model or that person. Don't change anything on your body. Love your bodies the way they are. Accept it. Fully embrace it. That's the only way we can do it. Feel gratitude. I understand it must be very difficult, particularly if we're bombarded with fascist beauty norms from the outside world, from social media, from Hollywood. You have to learn to ignore this. You have to learn to question these things fully, absolutely, all the way through. Question all these beauty ideals. You can love yourself just the way you are. Okay? I know that Tom Ford has a husband. I love Tom Ford. And I saw his husband. And that man is very feminine. Yet he embraces exactly who he is. His body fully 100%. That's a role model for the world. Jeffree Star is a role model for all of you guys. If you are feminine in the brain, you have a male body, you can still embrace who you are, and vice versa. I saw that girl Dakota, beautiful, stunning girl, wants to be a man. The same situation in reverse. It's the same situation. She wants to be a man, takes testosterone, ruins her beautiful, unimaginably gorgeous body. One of the most gorgeous women on earth, and she ruins her body with testosterone injections into her thigh muscles. How horrible. It made me cry. I talked to her. She got very in much resistance to what I said. Much resistance. Very tense. Like, she wants to be a man. Why should I? She snapped at me. Why should I want that if I don't want to do this? So, but they come from the wrong mindset. Complete wrong mindset. You don't have to do this. You don't have to do it. You can embrace exactly what you have. Even a crooked nose or whatever. We can, it's only in our heads. That thing is in our heads. This wanting to change the body. That's in the head. That is something, even if it's very challenging, we can meditate into it and accept exactly who we are and how we are. For some people it's harder than for others, but there is a way to love and accept your body no matter what the circumstances are. For everyone, for a dwarf, for someone who is 8 feet tall, for someone who has arms coming out of the shoulders. You can love and accept you for you, who you are. And you can bring humor into it. You can make something amazing even out of it. There are people like this. There are people, I've seen them, they give TED Talks. There are men that are dwarfed and even have crippled arms and legs. They can't even walk. They have to be driven in a wheelchair. And they go up there in front of other people and they give the most amazing motivational speeches you can ever possibly imagine. This is in your head. You can make something outstanding out of any kind of situation. If you come in a situation like this, in this lifetime, whatever difficult situation it is, that means it is a school. That means it is a task for you. It's a soul. It's a soul program that you set out to do. You actually set out to do, but it's not in this realm. You set it out in the other realm. Okay. Of course, we didn't choose to suffer like this from the 3D. Okay. But out of a different realm, it is a soul contract. It's a program that we were willing to do in order to grow. Some people set their programs at a way too high difficulty level. But even if it's that difficult, you don't have to get everything accomplished right now. You can patiently and gradually and slowly work your way towards it without changing your body, without going under the knife. The goal is to accept yourself just the way you are, and it is absolutely possible and it is doable. And forget about social entitlements and social pressure and beauty norms and ideals and this and this and that. Okay? Or someone is famous and then everyone wants to look like that. You need to question this. Okay, we are all unique, where everyone is a unique living being, equally precious to the other. Remember that, okay? And practice gratitude for everything that comes your way, for every flower that is growing on the side of the road. Go there and smell on that flower. I really mean it. This will make a huge improvement for your life. It's true. Don't take things for granted. Practice gratitude for every flower, for every bird, and for every dog. Okay, you guys take care. Bye-bye.